So, I guess we're done with all that relationship business.
Apparently we are. It's really fascinating that Robotus really can only do one thing at a time, but when he does, it's always so excessively. How many talking and bantering sketches you reckon's gonna be?
Who cares? Let's just get on with today's topic.
Which is?
Dumb morals and stuff in media that we find annoying. And by we, I of course mean just a stand-in for obviously Robotus' takes.
As a goat, allow me to begin, Mr. Gagan, because I already know exactly what I want to mention. Given the kind of show our franchise has been, this is pretty much a no-brainer, but it always really irked me how everyone always has to be friends with each other. Even characters from a completely different background who don't have anything in common, not even interests or any such. You know what I mean? If the plot of the episode didn't push it, those people would never become friends. The only thing they might have in common is that they're both friends with the main character.
I get the feeling you're referring to something very specific. Care to elaborate what it is?
In Ordnung. But be nice, because the serious I mean is a little special. I'm talking about Sophia the First.
What, that preschool Disney princess show? Are you serious?
Don't knock it till you tried it, okay? Cedric is the GOAT. But there was this one episode where Sophia invited some peasant friends into the castle, and her royal friends didn't take kindly to the uncouth behavior of the others. Yet still, in the end, they all became good buddies because the royals accepted that the other friends are different. But without them generously foregoing their right to do things their way, this would have never come to pass. It only worked because the plot needed them all to be friends with Sophia.
I don't think that's a very good example, Rhea. Any case, I don't think you did a good job explaining what exactly is bad about that.
Yeah, well then pay attention. Just ask yourself this, dear viewer. Do you really do anything and everything together with every single member of your entire friend group all the time? And do you not have different friends for different occasions? I'll be honest, if you don't, then you're to blame for this trope. This is your fault. Stop it. Oh, and by the by, what I'd also really like to know, how exactly do your friend groups look? How realistic is that hyper-diverse friend cast of modern media where everyone is a different representation of a certain group? Do you also have smart, sporty, girl, minority, and wheelchair?
Okay, I think that's enough of that, Rare. Look, I get what you're trying to say, but instead of reaching so far, you don't need to look further than friendship is magic. Take that Cranky Doodle Donkey episode from Season 2. Why can't it be that he's just grateful for everything Pinky did for him without having to be her friend? That would have made a real mature lesson for Pinky that sometimes people can still like you even if they don't want to befriend you. And that's fine. Like Rarity was trying to say, not everyone needs to be friends with each other.
Yeah, but because it was friendship is magic, there was only one way this could end. The Christianity of friendship had to be upheld.
Christianity of friendship?
Or friendship caliphate, whatever you want to call it. The religious sovereignty of the concept of friendship in Equestria. I mean, Equestria's obsession with friendship is viewed as the end-all be-all over there, and not just for the ponies. The other coaches as well have by now adopted this belief. In fact, they only could then truly begin to integrate with the ponies when they relinquished their false beliefs and accepted the truth.
Are you sure you're not exaggerating a little?
Oh, I'm exaggerating a bunch, but it's still valid. I mean, all those other cultures work perfectly fine, but then along comes missionary Twilight with a Bible and a soccer ball and just tells them that how they used to do things is totally wrong and they need to change it in order to coexist with Equestria. And they show acts like they only profit from it. the less of their own culture is something they're keeping their dandy little silence about. But that's okay. After all, that's exactly how it's going in the real world. If a culture stems from a false belief, then it's not worth being preserved either way.
Okay, so at the hazard of cutting off your far-right rhetorics there, Flutz, coming back to the stupid show stuff, another thing I always hated was how fans would always say that the Legion of Doom could have well been reformed.
That's on the who?
Legion of Doom. T-Rex, Chrysalis, and Cozy Glow in Season 9.
That's their name? You have got to be kidding me.
Settle in now. Anyway, sure, they're all so redeemable, at least if you want to believe them fans in the forums. But if y'all take the time to watch the fucking show, you know it's a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, they started to understand friendship and cooperation, but in spite of the religious obsession the other ponies had with it, that don't magically solve everything. They still were evil, working together as a team and liking each other, yeah, but them being villains and wanting to take over Equestria, that ain't changed 'cause of that. If anything, them being friends only solidify their conviction.
And you know, while we're at the topic of stupid things fans said, recently I heard about someone saying how they totally loved the Season 1 Paris Bride episode and how my counterpart berated her friends at the end of it for not listening to her and how she was so justified in doing that. I mean, basically she was, if you want to ignore a few facts about the situation. Let's just say her complaining about the others not taking us seriously would be a tad more believable if she had at least tried to explain to them what's so dangerous about those creatures and why she's acting the way she is. But instead of giving an explanation, she's just sitting there all pouty and sulking instead of plainly stating that those creatures are parasites that will multiply and overrun Ponyville. And later, when she's about finding all those instruments, not once does she stop to explain why she needs them. Her friends had no reason to believe that her searching these instruments was anything more than her usual random equals funny Pinkie Pie shenanigans. I mean, yeah, sure, her friends wouldn't have believed her anyway in that situation, even if she had explained that polka music can lead the Parasplice away, but at least then Pinkie would have a reason to berate her friends for not listening. Instead of being all cryptic and vague about it, as a pony who's known for often doing random stupid shit and then having the gall to act all pissy when of course no pony takes her seriously. Okay, I just had to get that out of my system.
Alright, then I guess I can take over now. What really annoys me about TV shows mostly is what I want to describe as the tick.
The tick? You mean like that little insect that bites you and sucks blood?
Exactly. TV tropes would call it the idiot ball, but I think a tick works better as a metaphor because a ball you get to catch and hold. A tick, however, that just bites you and sticks to you.
Okay, and how would you describe this, tick?
Like I said, it's basically like an idiot ball. When a character just begins acting really stupid and totally unlike their usual personality simply for plot's sake, in most cases because they need to learn a lesson about something. It mostly happens in kids' shows where such tonal shifts in writing happen the most frequent. For example, a character who normally has no trouble working as a team with others suddenly develops a massive ego and becomes a total show-off, which is totally out of character for them, only because in this episode they need to learn that humility is the key to working as a team. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I guess all this boils down to really is poor writing in general. Another example I could give would be Lila from Miraculous, who I'm convinced is a senti monster with the power to cast an addling aura around her that makes everyone totally gullible. They try to paint her as this master manipulator, when in reality, she's just going around telling the most easily debunkable lies ever. Seriously, a simple Google search will prove most of her bullshit wrong. And everyone who isn't a main character just instantly believes everything she says. Oh well, I guess that's what happens when you try and write a highly intelligent character when you yourself simply aren't. No offense, Thomas.
Ain't nothing like picking at a low-hanging fruit. And there ain't nothing hanging lower than Japs and Miraculous.
But you know what's really the worst trope out of all else? Bullying episodes. Because they always just dumb down this highly complicated topic for the sake of an easily resolved plot. In the end, you just go to an adult and tell them about it, or get together with your friends and stand up to your bully, and then they're just instantly defeated and never try any shit again. What annoys me the most about it is the way they always depict the bully as this big crybaby who's actually a weakling and a coward underneath, like they stand against him and he starts crying and runs away. That's not how it works in real life. Most bullies are just gonna scoff at you and say something like, "This isn't worth my time," and leave. And later, when you're alone again, they get back at you. That's how it actually goes. But what really gets under my skin is when they spin it in a way that the bully actually becomes friends with the victim. You know, because everybody knows that all bullies themselves are victims with a tragic backstory and they only lash out because of the pain they feel. I understand this might be the case even more often than not, but that's only an explanation. It doesn't excuse or justify anything. Then they try to tell you that friendship is always the answer and the bully will surely stop if you only give them the love they're clearly missing. My ass. People bully because they're bored, because they enjoy hurting others, because they revel in the power they have. It's not any deeper than that. And no, this fluffy, feel-good bullshit story they would always tell in the 90s, that's a bunch of horse shit too. Your bully's not gonna peak in high school and be a hobo loser for the rest of his life while you open a successful IT business. No, your bully's gonna thrive in the job market because he can be assertive and knows how to get what he wants. All the while you'll be drowning in medical bills from your therapy sessions and depression pills. Also, the way schools are always protecting the bully, like, sure, he's a piece of shit, but we can't possibly write that in his records. That could totally endanger his future. But who gives a shit about the victim's future? I mean, that's fucked already, isn't it? So why make one destroyed life too? But coming back to that solving the bullying thing, be real, all victims of bullying. Did any of that shit ever work the way those shows suggested? No, it didn't. The only show that handled bullying correctly was SpongeBob of all things with this Flats the Flounder guy. He just comes in and for no reason wants to beat up SpongeBob. And no matter who he turns to, no one is of any help for him. Flat's father is just another victim, Patrick is buddies with the guy, Mrs. Puff just makes everything worse and buys all of his lies, and even him saving Flat's life doesn't change anything. And in the end, nothing prevents it. SpongeBob gets beaten up. It just so happens that he's a sponge and doesn't feel it. In any other case, he'd have totally gotten it. But what's actually the most real thing about this episode is its ending. Flats exhausts himself and collapses, and then Mrs. Puff comes in, and SpongeBob is the one getting in trouble without a chance of explaining himself. And that's how it always goes. The bully can do anything he wants, but when the victim finally snaps and fights back, then everyone is acting all shocked, and oh my goodness, I can't explain how it could come to something like that. But let's be all real here. This is the only solution there is in most cases. Sooner or later, it has to come to violence from the victim, otherwise it's never gonna stop. The only way to stop bullying effectively is to make sure the bully is too scared to ever try anything again. I know no one wants to hear this because it's just not nice, but it is the truth. There comes a time when the consequences of fighting back don't matter to you anymore. At that point, it's only about revenge. It's not fair, it's not nice, but it is the only way.
Wow, that all sounds really personal, Fluttershy. Are you speaking of experience?
Yes, I do.
Oh my god, really? I had no idea you were being bullied. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, you don't need to be. Actually, I was the bully.
What?
Yeah, there was this one nerd in middle school I'd always pick on. He was a real state-of-the-art geek and actual snot-nosed loser. Guys, you wouldn't believe the kind of shit I got away with. I was a real monster back then. It honestly kind of makes me sick thinking about it. But it was just the way I described. I would get away with everything, and my victim would even get in trouble whenever he tried to fight back. But then came a day when he simply decided he had enough. One afternoon, he stepped up to me, armed with a baseball bat. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He beat the absolute shit out of me. That's also where I lost those 2 teeth here, you see?
Holy shit. Y'all actually serious?
Anyway, after that, I never once even looked in his direction anymore. And the moral of the story is, violence solves everything. Nana, really, but violence is also a solution when all else fails. My victim tried everything else before, talking to me, making peace offerings, snitching to the teachers, my parents, everything. But I just wouldn't stop. Only when I got a taste of iron, I finally gave in. Now, that doesn't mean it always has to come to something like that, okay, viewers? Sometimes it actually can just be a misunderstanding or something like that. I know, such cases are rare, but if there's anything you want to take away from this topic, I'd say it's this. Violence never being the answer, that's absolute bullshit. But you should only then resort to it when everything else didn't work. It can only ever be a last resort.
Oh, who would have guessed that? An actually educational ending to a sketch. You don't see a lot of those anymore.
I don't think you ever did.